many years, software has become a necessary driver in innovation, a key player in the ability for us to connect with our customers, a means of bringing new products to market, and tools to help automate processes and bring efficiencies to our workforce. It's fair to say that today is very much a software-driven economy. And this software-driven world has seen a huge adoption of agile methodologies, often resulting in a variety of projects being managed in separate tools. And while these best-of-breed systems may be focused and relevant and very work-specific, they can also make decision-making and strategic alignment almost impossible. So during the session today, we will provide a brief overview of Agile, a comparison of Agile and traditional project management, and include a demo of a tool that allows enterprise-level analysis and reporting in Project Online for data residing in both Microsoft project schedules and Agile tools such as Jira, Visual Studio, and version 1. And real quick, before we get started, let me go over a few logistics. All of the lines will be muted today, but to be sure you get the most out of the presentation, we will be taking questions. So please feel free to leverage the chat module within your GoToWebinar panel and ask your questions, and we will be monitoring them. You can also feel free to email us directly. I'll be putting our contact information up shortly. And last but not least, if you get distracted or pulled away during the webinar, don't worry, we will be recording it and sending it to an on-demand version to all of the registrants following the webinar. So real quick, we'll do introductions. My name is Michelle Manumtum from Tivity, and I will be your host and one of your presenters today. I have either been designing, implementing, and supporting project and work management solutions, or managing teams that are designing, implementing, and supporting project and work management solutions for around 15 years. A genuine problem solver at heart, and I have a particular passion for helping organizations get the most out of their PPM implementations. I also have on the line with me my colleague Matt Willey. Matt is one of our product gurus, senior solution architect, and he's got a proven track record in architecting and deploying amazing solutions that are built on the Microsoft technology platform. He's also got a background as a certified product owner within Agile product development teams, so he brings some valuable insights and experience to the team. He'll be walking us through a demo of our integrated project and Agile management solution a bit later in the presentation. Okay, with that, we'll get started. As technology has evolved over the years, it's really changed the way we deliver products and services. In fact, if you look at the history of most products, you'll see that technology clearly drives our ability to innovate. I've put a few of my favorite examples up on the screen that showcase how technology has given organizations a competitive advantage. For example, Blockbuster. At one time, it was a booming video rental company at its peak in 2004 and had nearly 60,000 employees and 9,000 locations. But regardless of that success and growth, the needs of the customer changed. People started realizing that there was a better way to consume the video services. And now you've got Netflix, Apple TV that have really taken over that market. As technology has progressed, it was the needs of the people that drove the end results. So what does that mean for our organizations? Well, it means that we have to develop technology at a rapid pace. It means we have to adhere to the cost-saving disciplines found in project management, such as cost control, resource management, and risk management. But it also means we need to be agile and experiment a little bit to stay ahead of the competition. And finally, we have to listen to the needs of our customer. So simply put, this can create challenges for the various roles involved in product delivery, all of whom typically have different processes, different tools, and a completely different way of doing their everyday work. So what are the challenges that these organizations are facing today? Well, every large organization over time develops processes and procedures to enable employees to obtain information, products, and services they need to perform their jobs. The challenge is everything is done in different systems. Processes vary from team to team, and most importantly, everyone has their own individual objectives. So employees are forced to navigate their way through a maze of forms, applications, processes, and locations, which leads to the frustration, confusion, and loss of time and productivity. And in addition, information is distributed in all these different silos. There are too many manual processes that are still in place, And teams are not working toward one common goal, and that makes that project cost, value, and performance anything but transparent to the business. So what we've essentially done is built this brick wall that's acting as a barrier, preventing teams from easily collaborating and sharing. This leads to, as I mentioned, people working in silos on different sides of the wall, leading to inefficiencies and ineffectiveness. And this highly affects employee turnover, satisfaction, and work fulfillment. In fact, employee engagement is 100% critical for productivity. The bottom line is a disconnected and disengaged workforce operating in this rapidly changing and complex work environment means lost productivity, innovation, and responsiveness. So let's narrow this down to the project management community and how these brick walls have impacted project teams and executives. As we are all aware, Agile Project Management adoption is on the rise. One of our partners, version 1, they conduct an annual report on the state of Agile. And in late 2013, 88% of organizations were practicing Agile. And that's 2013. That's still 2 or 3 years ago. So that was up by 5% from the previous year and 3% the year before that. So Agile adoption has only increased since then. It's very common for Agile methodologies to coexist in organizations along with that traditional PPM methodology. And this really isn't a choice anymore. The PMO has to support people in the processes that best suit the way they actually work when creating great software. And Agile teams need to help the PMO and executives have the visibility they need to run a successful business. And although these methodologies, the traditional PPM and Agile, coexist within the organizations, in many cases the projects delivered from them remain in disparate systems simply because the teams that own them have differing objectives. When teams have different objectives, could lead to conflicting views. So we all know that the PMOs are known to be these structured discipline units that need to plan, manage, and prioritize their project work against timelines and budget constraints. The PMO is a centralized resource for all of the IT project teams monitoring project delivery with a wide range of projects and defined goals and timeframes. And project managers have visibility into their work, but often they have no purview into the development schedules. With resources working on both types of projects, Agile and traditional, they need to have visibility across all of their team's work regardless of where the work resides. Project managers have to consistently communicate about and report on their project status across business units and development methodologies to the PMO. So the PMO can present a single dashboard across the breadth of all of these projects going on. The PMO is needing that 10,000-foot level visibility for the organization. So it's not surprising that the PMO is often heavy-handed, imposing these strict approach to metrics and guidelines across all these projects. Product teams, however, they need the flexibility to innovate and quickly on their feet stay on top of that competition. And developers require different tools because their planning is different. It's iterative, it allows for a think-on-your-feet mentality. They follow Agile best practices and methodologies using those continuous builds. The customer regularly receives working software that allows the customer to gauge the product and provide corrective measures before it's finalized. And Agile teams speak a completely different language than the PMO. Epics, story points, and velocity. These challenges lead to a disconnect between the two teams that can cause bigger challenges for the organization as a whole. Both teams have specific ways of executing on their work, but we still need to get that enterprise-level view of all projects, their status, their strategic alignment, and their resources. Because in the end, we have to look at the needs of the executives. Executives are responsible for making the decisions that keep the organization alive, and they need that holistic picture. Where are we going? What are our priorities? And how much value are we delivering? So how can you bridge these gaps that are impacting your team's productivity and the business's bottom line? Each team has specific challenges that can be resolved through a unified solution. Integration of systems can drive enhanced visibility and alignment, making sure that the projects that the teams are working so hard on are the right projects and deliver value to the organization. A unified solution will also integrate all work and resources into a single view, with a holistic view of resource availability and efficiency. With a unified solution, teams will have the opportunity for improved forecasting and more realistic expectations. And ultimately, a unified PPM and Agile solution will help improve governance and planning and executing on these projects. Tiffany has been working on Microsoft project implementations for many years, and it was clear in many of our clients' deployments that there was a need to connect systems together so that teams can work better together, consolidate data for decision making, and keep these teams working towards that common goal. So we developed a tool called Project Connect to do just that. Project Connect is Tivity's tool for Microsoft Project that allows you to synchronize information across systems. Project Connect can help you easily integrate systems with Microsoft Project Online to form a true all-work management platform. And you'll see a few examples here on the screen of some of the apps that we integrate with. So for this presentation, we've been discussing the needs for a unified PPM and Agile solution. So this solution connects portfolio planning and strategic alignment with all the development projects, which provides timely and actionable information to increase project visibility and transparency, reduce the costs, and accelerate product or application time to market. Here you can see the traditional PPM disciplines across the top that are critical for all project success. And then you have the Microsoft Project, the standard tool used within PMOs and other project groups for traditional project management or waterfall. And then in the middle you have tools like Jira, that's commonly used for small teams, Visual Studio for those Microsoft dev shops, and version 1 for those larger dev shops that have enterprise agile or a more disciplined governance approach. And then on the right you have the customer aspect and all the services to help your IT organization and your customers' needs met. So again, this is one unified solution for services, agile, and traditional project management. And for a little more detailed visual, here's one place to go to get all of the information for improved decision making, bringing all of your works and projects into one powerful, unified portfolio. And this is a bit of a more technical breakdown between Project Connect with the Microsoft Project and version 1 integration that Matt's just about to demonstrate for you. So it takes all of the work within the PMO and the development teams and provides a seamless workflow between these two systems for a consolidated view into the strategic alignment, resource allocation, time, and business value delivery. Mapping projects and Project Online to epics and version 1, coming up with that mapping of the two different languages from the two different teams. Tasks mapped to features and user stories. And if you're tracking time, you can push time captured in version 1 to actual work in Project Online, eliminating that need for multiple timesheet entries. We all know how much people hate entering time, so if you're going to add another system into the mix, it's just going to frustrate your employees. So this allows project managers to work in the tool they know best, and the development teams to work in the way that works best for them, while providing each team the information they need, ultimately for project success. So now that we've introduced Project Connect to you, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Matthew so that he can show you what a unified PPM and solution look like.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Michelle. So I'm logged in here into Project Online, and I'm taking a look at my portfolio of projects. The very first thing you might want to do when you put in your grouping of projects, whether they're agile or not, is you want to do some sort of prioritization and figure out, well, we have all these different requested projects. Which ones are we really going to do? So Project Online has some very robust tools that we'll just go through really quickly so that you can see how you can prioritize all of these projects all together, both Agile or Waterfall, all within the same tool. So if I click on Portfolio Analysis here, I'm going to go ahead and open up an analysis that I've previously done and walk through it really quickly. So I've done an analysis on a certain set of projects, and I'm trying to figure out which ones I should do based off of how much they cost, how much resources they're going to take, and how much value they're actually going to give back to the organization. We want a good balance, a good bang for our buck. We want to get the most value from the least amount of cost and resources, that type of a thing. So the way this works is you come in and you give a title to this particular analysis or this scenario that we're creating, and you can create multiple different scenarios and make updates to them and change them as you go and things of that nature. And then you select some projects. I've selected 21 different projects here. Some of those projects may already be approved, may already even be in progress, and you can compare those against your requests, or you can just look at your requested projects, depending on the outcome that you're trying to get. And sometimes you want to include some existing projects because you might cut them if there's a better project and maybe that project's having some trouble, et cetera, those types of things. You pick some settings of, what's your total cost constraint, and I want to use the total cost field in this scenario. And do you want to include resource requirements in your scenarios as well? So you can just look at cost. You don't have to also look at resources. It's really up to you. But at this point, all of these projects that we're looking at have budgets put in and they have resource plans put in. A resource plan meaning we know that they need, 3 developers and 1 project manager and 3 QAs, et cetera, for a certain period of time, that type of a thing. And you have some other different settings in here to pick and choose how you want this scenario to work, and whose prioritization of these business drivers do you want to use. So beforehand, you would have already defined out your business drivers, like I want to expand into new markets. I want to improve customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, product quality, things like that. And you prioritize all of those to say, this is 25% important to me, this is 10% important to me, this is 35, that type of a thing. And you can use a pairwise comparison to do that, to come up with, which ones are most important and how important they are. And then you look at all of your different projects. So these are all of my different projects on the left here. And I need to pick and choose for each project. This particular project, is it going to help me expand into new markets? Not so much, it's low. Is it going to help improve employee satisfaction? Yes, extreme, that type of a thing. So you can come in and you can rate all of these different projects for each of the different business drivers that you've defined. Once you do that, then it's going to do some calculations and figure out, okay, based off of the scores that you have for each of those drivers, the weighting of each driver, the amount of importance it has to you, and based off of all the choices you set for each project of how much value they're going to generate in each of those driver areas, then it gives you a list of prioritized projects. So I can see at the top here is my e-commerce portal development project with 8.3% of priority. Notice all these priorities add up to 100%. The reason is, a good way to think about this isn't just priority. It's to think about it as the amount of value that this project's going to deliver back to your company, comparatively to the whole portfolio. So this project is going to give me 8.3% of the value of this whole portfolio if we were to do all of these particular projects. But what if this project costs, $1 million, and then 3 projects below them altogether only cost $200,000? Well, should we still do this one at the top because it's the highest priority? Probably not. We should probably do those 3 projects down here because we're going to be able to get more value for less money. So at this point, we're just looking at the value. We haven't yet taken into account the costs or the resources. So if I hit next, we're going to take a look at the costs. So in this scenario, I've set up a budget. My budget is $4 million. I have $4 million. Which project should I do based off of the amount of value that they're going to give back to me and the amount of cost that they're going to cost me? So what you can see is it selected certain projects here, about 66% of the value we can get with a $4 million budget. And if I scroll down here, it deselected other projects, saying that if we're going to spend this $4 million, these are the projects we should spend it on. We should not spend it on these. That's going to give us the most value out of our portfolio. Now, if we were to up this budget here, then we can start to do more projects and we can start to get more value out of our portfolio. So we can start to pick and choose and say, well, what if we do 5 million? Well, what if we do, different scenarios here? So I have a $5 million budget and that actually gets us up to 87% and that type of a thing. So you can create different scenarios, show those to management, and make some decisions. Okay, we're going to do these projects based off, and we're going to spend this amount of money, and we're going to, try to get this amount of value out of our portfolio. From there, as I mentioned, it's an optional step, but you can then go and analyze resources as well. So just because we have the money to do these projects doesn't necessarily mean that we have the people to do them within those particular periods of time. So I can see here, even if I hire 2 resources, I can still only do 52% of the projects, or get 50% of the value of the projects, and I can't do these 4 projects here, that type of thing. I just don't have the resources to do it. But how can we adjust for that? Well, there's a couple things we can do. One is we can move these projects around. So you'll see these projects here in the Gantt are very, they all kind of sit on top of each other. What if we stagger them a little bit better? Maybe that'll help with our resourcing. So you can come in here and you can change the new start dates of these things and move projects around and recalculate and see if then you can do more projects. You can also hire more resources. So what if I hire 5 resources instead of 2? Recalculate, and it'll show me that. Then there's a report, which is the hired resources report, which is actually going to show me then how many, of those 2 resources or 5 resources or 10 resources, what roles do they need to be? How long of a period of time do I need them for? So if it's very short, maybe I just hire contractors. If it's a longer period of time, then maybe I hire full-time employees to come and help me out. And it'll even give me the costs based off of the rate for those particular roles. So I can get really good visibility into the people that we need to hire. And this is before these projects even happen. So we're doing this whole forecast out into the future based off of the estimated resource needs for these projects. So at the end of this, you'll have selected some projects and deselected other projects, and you can always force projects in and force projects out. There's forced in, forced out kind of a thing like that. If there's a project that you have to do, maybe it's a government regulated regulation that you have to comply with, those types of things, right? Once you've picked the projects, and these would be both Agile or standard PPM projects, then you're going to go into the next stage, and that's where we can actually go start to manage this particular project and create your project schedule and things of that nature. So jumping into my next screen here, I'm back at my project center. In this view, I have 2 different products that I'm currently working on, and within those products, we're doing lots of different projects. Now, some of those projects are Agile projects and some are not. So if I scroll over here to the right, I can see my type of projects. Some are Agile and some are enterprise projects, meaning standard waterfall projects with more waterfall type schedules and things of that nature. So if it was a standard project, you'd build out your project schedule like you normally would, save, publish, and push that into Project Online and be able to report on it, and et cetera, et cetera. If you're using a Agile tool, like say in this use case, we're going to be showing version 1, but that could be Jira, that could be Rally, that could be Team Foundation Server or Visual Studio Online, if you're using the online version of TFS. It could be any sort of tool, and the use case is going to be very, very similar. So I'm going to click into one of my Agile projects here called Build Planner. And the way this works is this particular project is going to map over into version 1, and it's going to map over as an epic in version 1. So in version 1, this project is going to be equal to 1 epic in version, this project in Project Online is going to be equal to 1 epic in version 1. And the way you do that mapping is you have to tell it where you want it to go in version 1. So the very first time you create this project, or when you're ready to map this project to the version 1 project, you just put in this little ID here. This is the ID of the parent product in version 1. So there's a parent item above this epic, and you just have to tell it where it needs to go. So when you put in that little ID, which is easily you can easily get from version 1, then it links it all up for you and you're good to go. If I was syncing to Visual Studio Online, then I would just come in here and set this to yes, that type of a thing, and it's already linked up because that's all online through the Microsoft Cloud. If it was a Jira project that I wanted to link it to, I would put in the Jira project ID, that type of a thing. So this is where you can come to basically map your project in Project Online to a project or an epic or whatever it might be in the Agile system that you're managing. Once you've done that, then I'm going to come over here into my schedule part of my project. And this is an optional part. So if you want, as the project owner, or as the product owner, I should say, whoever's really in charge of, for this particular epic, building out the set of features or user stories or capabilities that we want to do, they can come in and they can make a high-level list of those features or capabilities within here or user stories. And notice I can specify what type of item I'm creating here. Is it an initiative? Is it a feature? Is it a user story? Is this just a task? That type of a thing. And so I can create a high-level plan of what we want to do from a capability perspective, a user story perspective, save and publish. And when I do that, it's actually going to push these items out into version 1. On the opposite side, though, you don't have to do this. You can leave this blank. You can go into version 1, do all of your planning there, build out all your features there, and have them shoot back into Project Online and show up here, just like you see this one here. So you kind of have the choice. Do you want to do your high-level planning in here, or do you want to do your high-level planning in version 1? That's up to you, and it'll sync either way. So then I'm going to go jump over into version 1. In version 1, I have that same project, which maps into version 1 as an epic. So this is my epic. I want to build a planner. Under that, I have a feature. So you remember I created feature 1 over here. That shows up under that particular epic. There's my feature 1. And then in version 1, let's say I want to break that feature down into some sub-stories, right? I need to break it down into some smaller chunks so that we can manage this better and start to estimate it and work on it and things of that nature. So you build out all the different stories you might want over here, or whatever you need to break this down into. If I click on this story, I can also then create subtasks for individual stories. So if I hit show relationships here, it's going to show me for this story, here's all my related tasks. So I have one related task, and this is where I can update status, and I can update the amount of hours that I've been working on these tasks and such. And when I do this, this is all going to roll up and roll back into Project Online. So that's what we're going to take a look at now, right? I don't want to fill in my time here and in Project Online. I don't want to update status of these tasks here and in Project Online. I just want to do them in one place or the other and have it automatically sync for me. So what I can do is I can say, okay, today I worked 2 hours on this particular task. So I put in my 2 and I hit save, and that's going to update the amount of hours I've worked on this task, but I could have updated, status and different things like that. And then I'm going to go back into project and show you how you can then get those updates and see and get visibility into what's going on back in project. So that rolls all back up into your portfolio. And so you can see status of not just your regular project management projects and hours worked on your regular project management projects, but you can see those on Agile projects as well without having to go double enter a lot of information. So the way I do that, there's a couple different ways. One is we can run a timed sync that can run, say, every night or multiple times a day, something like that. That's going to go out to version 1, and it's going to grab all that information and it's going to pull it into Project Online for me. But there's some other options, like, for example, if I want to be more in control of that process as the person who's managing this project, I want to come in and I want to come into my approvals page, and I can do what's called import status. And this is a button that our Project Connect integration app adds. And what it allows you to do is when you click that, it's actually going to pull in all that information from version 1. So I can then see my status updates here, like for feature 1, the one that we were just looking at. And it can pull all those status updates in and show me the amount of hours, and then I can approve or reject them, that type of a thing. Another use case, a possible use case, is as a team member, the person who's actually working on these tasks and such, like a developer, a QA, something like that, I can go into my work and I can automatically see all the work that I'm working on here. And I'm going to be able to then bring in the status updates and the time that I've been filling into version 1 into my timesheet, which is basically what this is, but it's timesheet as well as you can status your work. And I can pull all of that information in, but then if I'm also working on standard project management projects, I can fill out my time on those here as well. Or if I need to put in admin time or sick time or vacation time or whatever it might be, I can put those into my timesheet here so we can keep track of all of that. So a slightly different use case, not required, but something that's available if you want to. Because version 1, for example, you probably wouldn't be tracking like your sick time in there, that type of a thing. So you can come in, and all you do first is you click in here, and I'm going to say import status. So let's go ahead and do it. So here's my build planner project, and here's my feature 1. And notice on Thursday, I've already filled out an hour of time here on Thursday. But if I import now, it should pull in those 2 other hours I just worked. So I hit import status, and what that's doing is it's going out to version 1. It's not just looking at that one particular item and trying to pull in status for that, but all of the items that I've been working on. So if I've worked on 5 different things, then it's going to pull in all the updates for those 5 different things, both time, status, etc. So that goes out, that brings in all the information for me, and then I can proceed to fill out the rest of my timesheets and update status on any other work that's not in version 1. Bring that all together into one place, and then I can save and submit that for approval into whoever's managing these different projects and such, or if there's a timesheet manager that manages the overall process, that type of a thing. So I can now see, once it pulls in all of that information from all of my different tasks I've been working on and updating, that feature 1 is now up to 3 hours, right? It pulled in those extra 2 hours that I just charged onto that particular task. And it's rolling that all up for me, right? We don't have to bring it down to the very, very detailed level of each individual little task that I worked on, or you could though. And at this point though, we're just bringing in at the feature level so we can see, okay, this many hours were spent on this feature or this user story, that type of a thing. Once I'm done, I come in here and I submit my timesheet, send that out. That's going to update the project manager. So-and-so has worked this many hours, has updated status to 100% complete on these different features, user stories, tasks, etc. Bring that all together so you can get some really nice reports and views around that particular information, and get that total status then of all of your different projects, how they're doing from a schedule perspective, from a cost perspective, from an issue perspective, right? You're going to be able to do all these different things around these projects, both agile and not. Which takes me into my next area. Now that we've been, creating all this data and pulling it in and updating things and updating status, how do we get visibility into what's really going on in a more of a chart or dashboard type of format? So there's a tool that's called Power BI, which is built into Office 365. Project Online, by the way, is also built in on top of, I should say, Office 365. But the cool part is your same login you use to get to all these different apps, and it's all tied together, meaning, for example, in Power BI, I can pull in data from the different tools that I'm using. So for example, if I jump over here into my project execution dashboard, this is looking at all of my projects in Project Online, actually pulling in that real data. So these reports are automatically generated for me and up to date when I come in here and to look at the data and such. And I can see things like, for example, a burn down. So this burn down, though, isn't just looking at Agile projects. This is looking at both Agile and standard project management projects and showing my burn down of work over time so I can see how much work I have left. Am I meeting my goals? What's going on? That type of a thing. But there's lots of other dashboards and reports and charts, etc., that you can get out of Project Online. And Tivity offers a report pack of about 25 out-of-the-box reports that you can use to get visibility into what's going on. These are some high-level dashboards, but when you start to click on things, you'll actually be able to drill in and see some key information within here. One thing that I really like about Power BI is that you can come in and you can actually just start typing a text query. Like, let's say I want to see a count of issues, let's do. And I want to do that by project. And notice as I'm typing this, by the way, it's trying to tell me, recommend things to me. It's almost like when you're typing in a Google search, right? Count of issues by project. Let's do by the title of the project. How about that? So once I type that in here, notice as I'm actually typing that, it's going out and it's figuring out and creating reports or charts for me. So it didn't actually just search and find a chart that already existed. It actually created this chart based off of what I typed in. So then, it created it as a bar chart. Well, what if I want that to be a pie chart? I just type in pie here and it'll switch it to a pie chart for me. Or what if I want it to be a tree map? I can come here and I can type in tree map, and so I can actually change the type just by typing it into my search query here. So if you're a business user who's not the most technical and you don't know how to set up, X's and Y's and, like normal types of reports, you can really just come in, type in what you want to see, and it's going to try to generate some charts and data and such for you based off of that. Also, this is all mobile enabled, so there's a mobile app for this. So any of the different reports in here that you want to take a look at, you can come in and see, for example, my portfolio status report. I want to get a status on my whole portfolio of projects, both Agile and standard project management projects. I can come in and get overviews of those things and drill into specific portfolios by switching my filter here. So it's a really robust mobile tool that you can use to get visibility into all of the different projects that are going on And it brings it all together now from both Agile and standard project management types of projects in different systems. So with that, hopefully you can get an idea of how you can manage both types of projects in Project Online and kind of figure out which projects you're going to do and have a high-level status in Project Online as well as in Power BI. But you can actually manage the execution of those different projects in whatever tool makes sense, whatever process makes sense for your users, but still bring all that data together in a meaningful way so that you can get status and you can get visibility into what's going on and where your money is going and make sure that you're doing the right things. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Michelle. She just has a couple more slides, and then we'll take a few questions, and then we'll let you guys go.
Thanks, Matt. So as a summary here, I thought this would be the best way to sum it up and review the outcomes of a unified Agile and PPM solution. Organizations, they want project success consistently within a reasonable amount of time for less money without barriers getting in their way. So ultimately, they want to see the value that they're receiving. They want to know the money that they've invested is well spent with a heavy return. And they want to create efficiencies through automation. And then most of all, they want their employees to be happy, because we know that if your employees are happy, then your customers are happy too. So a unified work management system, leveraging Tivity's Project Connect, can deliver in all of these areas. And before we close, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of Tivity and what we do. In a broader view, we are a business productivity solution provider focused on the Microsoft platform. And in regards specifically to project and work management, we're essentially your one-stop shop for Project Online. We have many apps that help you manage different areas of work, as well as integrations that streamline information, leveraging the Project Connect tool that we demonstrated earlier. We also help our customers deploy and maintain their technology environments and provide end-to-end support to make sure that your teams are successful using Microsoft technology, whether it be custom solutions, pre-built solutions, scalability, help desk support, or training. We really specialize in both adoption and productivity. And as a thank you for joining us today, we'd like to extend a special offer to you. If you'd like to receive a free PPM and Agile assessment and roadmap to help you work towards a unified Agile and PPM solution, please reach out to us at the email on your screen. We'd be happy to get back to you so we can schedule that one-on-one to perform a demo and kick off the process. And once again, thanks so much for joining us today. We hope that you found the information useful and insightful. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. I've put our information on the screen. We also have some additional webinars on our website at tivity.com, so please feel free to check those out. I've added the next two on the screen for you. We've got Understanding the Critical Path Methodology and Microsoft Project. So for those of you that are waterfall oriented, Bridget Fleming, our trainer, is going to be reviewing the critical path methodology, and she receives raving reviews on her webinars and training courses. So if you are interested in attending that, please feel free to register. And then, as Matt showed, the Power BI capabilities in the demonstration, we'll be going through a deep dive on that with the Show Me the Project Data, Project Online, and Power BI. So if you're interested in learning more, please feel free to register for any of those webinars or reach out to us specifically. And with that, we'll go ahead and close our presentation. Thanks very much.